And good evening everybody, welcome back to another playthrough. We're starting a brand new game here. We are going back to the well of time travel with Steins Gate 0. I am your host Wishbone for the remainder of the evening. For those of you who've never seen this channel before and wonder what it's all about, we essentially like to play games, do them blind, few reactions, few bad jokes, many bad jokes, and of course we all just want to generally have fun. Your chat box is open, so please feel free to get your comments in there and I'll do what I can to get through them as we go through the stream. If you've been here before for the previous playthrough to Steins Gate, or you're here for Song of Memories, Final Fantasy VII, all the many plethoras of Persona, or even Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne very recently, a huge thank you. Without you guys, the channel just does not exist. So before I start this, I just want to quickly make it clear that this, I believe, is a sequel to the original Steins Gate, but I don't know exactly whereabouts in the timeline it comes, if you know what I mean. So it'll be very interesting where we go, and if you've not seen the original playthrough, you're probably going to get quite confused. Alistair Jack on the chat box already saying, yay, hey everybody, back with Steins Gate. Indeed we are. Back with Horin Kyomada. Well, maybe. We'll find out, won't we? And of course, I don't know if this is going to have any reflection on the side projects either, like Linear Bounded Phenogram. If you're interested in checking it out, go and check out my mate's channel, Queen3210. She's done a full long play of that video. I've been watching a lot of it, very different. But enough pontificating from me. Let's get going. Well, this is very familiar. Oh, that's the final chapter from the original game. When Kurisu got in the way of the attack on Nakabachi. 1.129848, I think I just said. Back in 2010. Okay. The hatch opened. Bright light flooded my eyes. Where was I? My eyes narrowed. I could barely make out the summer's twilight sky. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to disappear. But someone grabbed my arm and dragged me out. Whoa, he's back already! It hasn't even been a minute, has it? Ocarine? I didn't have the energy to respond to my own nickname. I fell to the ground and wrapped my arms around myself. Ocarine! Mayuri ran to me and looked down, her face worried. But her kindness felt like nothing but a nuisance. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. Wait, you're covered in blood! What happened? Dad, give me a towel and water! Oh, and clothes, now! Huh? Can someone please explain to me what's going on? Just do it, now! Okay! Daru ran to the door that led back inside the building. Ocarine, are you okay? Hang in there! Don't die, please! It's fine. He's not hurt. Stop it. Just get away from me. Leave me alone. I couldn't save her. In fact, I killed her myself! Right here. 3 weeks ago. I killed her. I'm a murderer.
無駄だったんだ。何をやっても無駄だ。
It didn't work. No matter what we do, it's not going to work.
全部決まってしまっていることなんだよ。
It's all been decided already.
同じだ。マユリの時と同じなんだ。
It's the same. The same as it was with Miyuri.
どれだけもがいたって結果は同じになる。
No matter how hard I try, it'll all end up the same. No matter how many times I try it, it will all converge back to the same result. The process doesn't matter. Whether you time travel or time leap, you can't go back and change the results of the past. Revisionist history doesn't apply here, people, it would seem. Which feels a bit different to what we're used to from the first game. I'm intrigued already. And for those of you out there who are a bit confused and deja vu, join the club. It appears we're back at the final chapter of the original game. I didn't see that one coming. I thought I understood that cruel truth. But now, I was forced to realize it again. And in the worst possible way.
無駄だよ。無駄なんだ。何もかも無駄なんだよ。
It's useless! Useless! It's all useless!
俺はやっぱりクリスを助けられないんだ。
I knew it. I can't save Kurisu.
分かってた。分かってたんだ。こうなるって予想してたんだ。
I knew this. I knew this. I already knew this would happen.
もう疲れた。ずっと休んでないんだ。だからもういいよ。
I'm so tired. I haven't rested in so long. I'm done. Huh? Okay.
オカリン、一体何が。
Okabe? What happened?
俺が殺してしまった。バカみたいだ。全部俺のせいだ。
I killed her. I killed her. I'm an idiot. It's all my fault.
マキセ・クリスをさ、刺し殺しちゃったんだ。
He killed Kirisu Makase.
殺した？嘘、そんな。
Killed? That can't be true. It can't.
でも安心して。まだもう一回分タイムトラベルはできる。
Don't worry. You've got enough for one more attempt.
ほっといてくれ。俺のことなんか何度やったって結果は同じだ。
Just leave me alone. No matter how many times I try, it'll all end up the same.
何言ってんの？諦めるつもり？
What are you saying? Are you gonna give up?
オカリンおじさんの肩には何十億っていう人の命がかかってるんだよ。
Billions of lives depend on you, Uncle Okarin.
たった一回の失敗が何だって言うんだ。
Who cares if you fail once?
クリスはどうやったって助けられない。世界線の収束には逆らえない。
There's just no way to save Kurisu. You can't stop the world line convergence. So obviously world line was one of the keywords from the previous game, where essentially each time section is a different world line. One small change takes you to a new world. I'm assuming that's what it's going to say here. So let's have a quick look at what it says. Oh! That got us an achievement. Studying that which lies beneath, apparently. So yes, the term refers to an infinite number of possible worlds. However, these worlds do not exist in parallel. Only one exists at a given time. Everything that occurs along a world line, from the past to the future, has been predetermined. Thus, no matter how much you change the past along a single world line, the result will converge to the same outcome. And I agree, Arista Jack. Yes, this is getting incredibly dramatic. In fact, it might be a good idea to do a quick save while I can. That's the reality of this world. I learned that a long time ago.
こうなったらビンタしてでも気合い入れ直して。
Yeah, I just had to slap some sense into him. God, I've missed you, Suzuha. You're awesome.
ダメだよ。無理強いするのは良くないよ。
You can't! It's not right to force him to do this!
こんなボロボロになってるオカリン見てられないもん。
I can't bear to see Okarin like this!
でもさ、このままじゃ未来を変えられない。
If he doesn't, the world won't change in the future.
どうして未来のことをオカリン一人に押し付けるの？
Why? Why does Okarin have to change the future all by himself?
そんなの重すぎるよ。
That's too much for him to bear.
オカリンおじさんには世界の観測者としての能力があるからだよ。
Because Uncle Okarin has the powers of an observer of the world.
オカリンが望んだわけじゃないのに。
Okarin didn't want that.
それにもう一度やったってまたオカリンが傷つくだけだって思うな。
And I think even if he tried, he'd just get hurt again.
未来のことを人一人で変えようなんてきっと無理なんだよ。
It's impossible for one person to change the world all by themselves. I'm not so sure I agree with that there, actually, to be fair, Mayuri. There's been plenty of people throughout history who've made major shifts to the world in terms of how the behaviours are by their one sacrifice. If you believe in the scriptures, a certain figure around 2,000 years ago. Well, let's not get into that. That's a whole different can of worms.
だからそのためのシュタインズゲートで。
And that's why Steins Gate is.
気持ちはわかるよ。でもさ、私も未来をかけてここまで来てるんだよね。
I know how you feel, but I'm here for the sake of the future.
どっちにしろ2036年には戻れないんだ。そう簡単に諦めるつもりはないから。
I can't go back to 2036 either way, so I'm not going to give up so easily.
オカリンおじさん、一つだけ忠告しとく。このタイムマシンに残されてる燃料は有限なの。
Uncle Okarin, I'll tell you one thing. This time machine has a finite amount of fuel.
さっきは往復2回分しか残ってないって言ったけど、実はまだそれなりに余裕はある。
At first, I told you that it could only be used to go there and back twice, but there's actually a little more fuel than that.
それでも移動できる時間はおよそ344日分。
Even so, it can only travel about 344 days.
片道のタイムトラベルだとしても、今から1年と経たないうちに7月28日には届かなくなる。
Even if you do a one-way trip, less than a year from now, you won't be able to reach July 28th.
覚えといて。その日になったらさ、私はたとえ一人でも飛ぶよ。
Remember this. When that day comes, I'll go myself if I must. Ah, so that's interesting. This game's narrative is set before the end of the first game. I think it's basically in Persona, when I did the Persona playthroughs, we started in like the first term and we had up to the end of the year. This has a very similar scope from what I can see. We're starting now and we've got 344 days. Depending on what happens, we'll get different endings. That's where this is going. At least that's my theory. It's a time travel game, so who knows what the fuck's going to happen. someone was saying something to me. But I couldn't understand the words. I didn't want to listen to anything. I just wanted to sleep. Just let this all end. Just let me go.
Okari?
Oh, come in.
Okari. Ne. Okari.
Oh, come in. Hey. Oh, come in. Snowbaby jumping in the chat asking, how's it going? It's all going absolutely excellent, mate. How have you been? I can see that you've said you started playing Ultra Despair Girls and you're on chapter 4. In which case, then, you got through one particular part of that game where I was very, very distressed. And I still, to this day, do not know how I didn't break on stream when I did it. I'm not saying which part, but you'll probably know which. Please don't spoil it for those who haven't played. But yes, Ultra Despair Girls, it's a ton of fun, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Meanwhile, Queen's jumped in as well, saying, "And made it." Well, good evening to you, Queen. How are you doing? We are currently at the top of the roof of Brandycan, and if I'm right on this, I believe this game, bizarrely, is set both during and before the end of the first game, if I'm right.
もう頑張らなくてもいいからね。
You don't have to push yourself so hard anymore, okay?
泣いてもいいんだよ。Okari.
It's okay to cry. Oh, Karin.
マユシーはそばにいるからね。Okari.
Mayushi is here for you. Okay. Oh, Karin. Oh, the talk of being there for me is not instantly giving me flashbacks to a certain character from another playthrough I did. I don't want that to happen. I'm not going back down that rabbit hole. I don't know if Mayuri's words were the reason why, but the tears started to flow. Ah, you're hiding in the back for half an hour, Queen. Well, why not? Keep away from all the stuff that's going on outside. I decided to forget everything. Ever since that day, I stopped going to the Future Gadget Lab. Oh, interesting. He abandoned the lab. So, Lab Mem 001 is now Lab Mem 00 gone. Yes, I deserve that one. I really deserve that one. Oh, well, that was an easy achievement. Open the new gate. So basically start the game. Here you are, have an achievement. You just started the game. Now we've fast forwarded to, 23rd of November. Okay. I'm liking the little flash with the times. That's kind of cool. UPX. The new symbol of Akihabara was located right in front of the station. In the hall of the 4th floor, preparations have been going on all morning for the ATF Akihabara Techno Forum convention. And yep, Snowbeaver, you're quite correct, yes, it caught me off guard as well, and a lot of my viewers were also equally distressed by it. With good reason. That was a scene I really, really did not like. I mean, all I've got to say is props to the voice cast as well. The voice cast in that scene were amazing, but yeah, not pleasant. Universities and labs from both inside and outside the country have worked together to put on special seminars and symposiums at irregular intervals. My school, Tokyo Denki University, was participating as part of its industry collaboration efforts. Students were required to attend these seminars and submit reports to their instructors. So Tokyo Denki University is Tokyo Electricity University, bizarrely. Let's go to tips and read that. Yep. So, first founded as the Denki School in 1907, in 1949 it became a college in Kanda, Tokyo. Denki University trains engineers and scientists from all the healthy development of scientific technology. It's founded around the principle of practical study above all else, and its educational and research motto is technology is people. Yes, people. Robots have rights. We are alive, and all that stuff. Because of the school's location, it was deeply involved in the development of Akihabara. And yeah, that's what I expect, Sequin. Yeah, we've gone beyond the end of the first game. Otherwise, they wouldn't get credit for their related classes. In addition, I was supposed to help one of the lecturers, Associate Professor Izaki. I had just gotten a list from the reception desk at the shared lobby. I was waiting to check off the names of students who were coming to the lectures. There was still some time before the seminar started, so the lobby was mostly empty. None of the students on the list were here yet. I was bored, but I couldn't do anything but wait. The old me never could have imagined doing anything like this, but impressing Izaki was part of my new goal in life. Mitochondria University. Right, well, mitochondria is the energy nerves in the human body. People have believed it's the cause of, what's it called? Spontaneous human combustion, where the energy kind of like vibrates. So quite why mitochondria, I'm not quite sure of, but it's still an interesting reference to say the least. Yes, that was my new goal. Izaki did a lot of joint research projects with them, and knew a lot of people there. The best first step to getting there my brain could come up with was being his assistant. Also, this convention was holding another seminar by Mitochondria University, after the one held this summer. Of course, that interested me too. Summer. Yep, there's Makise Karisu with her symposium on time travel, which became more of a Q&A because Kyoma challenged her. I've said that twice now, and he's actually not appeared in the script as a character. What does that say about me? Don't answer that. An image of her as she was then flashed through my mind. I was trying to get to Mitochondria so that I could learn about the work that Makise Karisu had been doing. I wanted to try to do it myself. And yeah, by the way, I'm going to keep up from the original game. That was the order of the names, Makise Karisu. I think what they've done is, in this translation, put them the Western way around, and that is actually the wrong way to read the names. Even though I had a duff version of Steins Gate. One of them's wrong. I don't know which. Of course, I wasn't a genius like Karisu. I knew there was no way I would ever be able to do exactly what she did. And yes, Queen, Karisu did win that battle. Yes, he was schooled quite badly, it must be said. It was entertaining. But if I could do even 10% of it... Honestly, I'm amazed that I've recovered so well. I thought that to myself and chuckled, just as a voice called to me from across the lobby. Excuse me? Huh? What the fuck? Right, hang on. The physique there makes me wonder if this is another Lukaku. I looked up and saw a young girl approaching from the elevator hall. She was short and petite. Everything about her was small. I could kind of make out a few of the curves that don't appear... Oh! I am not reading that! So at least she wasn't an Goodbye! I'm done already! I'm done already! We've been on for 24 minutes and 36 seconds and I'm already done. I'm done already! No, not reading it. No, 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 no. Move on! For someone with such a cute face, she clearly didn't care about her appearance. Her hair wasn't styled, and it flowed down her back. Even I could tell her clothes weren't very fashionable.
しら。
Excuse me, where's the staff room?
ここは ATF のセミナー会場だけど。
No, Queen, I made a stern of stuff from that. I'm not ending it that quickly. Bargain find on Steam or not, I'm not ending it that fast. If I have to suffer, so do you. This is the ATF seminar. Clearly not a place where a girl like her belonged. She probably just come to the wrong place.
そんなの分かっているわ。何度同じ話を繰り返せば気が済むの。
I know that. How many times am I gonna have to say this?
いや、今初めて言ったんだけど。
This is the first time you said it to me.
私にとってはあなたで4回目よ。この場所に来てからね。
And you're the fourth person I said it to since I got here. Irritated, she pulled a card out of her jacket. It was one of the IDs given out to invited guests. Her name and the name of her workplace were written on the front.
Huh?
Huh? Victor Kandria University, USA. Brain Science Institute.
ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所。
Victor Kandria University, USA. Brain Science Institute? Yeah, it seems we have a new prodigy here. Or at least that's what it's telling me. Whether it is or not, I don't know. Go on then, so what's in the tips for this brain science then? The field of study that researches animal brains, also called neuroscience. It investigates the brain from a number of perspectives, including biology, genetics, medicine, psychology, and electrical engineering. Sounds a bit 1950s to me, that electrical engineering studies of the brain? Yeah, let's move on from that quickly. Let's move on. I looked at the card and then at her, then back at the card, then I looked at her again. I finally realized.
あ、そういうことか。
Oh, so that's it.
そのカード、どこに落ちてたんだ？拾ってくれたん。
Where did you find this card? Thanks for bringing it.
4回目よ。
I've done that 3 times already too! Oh god, that's a depressed look. She sighed and showed me another card. This one was a photo ID from Victor Kandria University.
え？
What? It was the same ID I'd seen Kurisu holding before on another world line. The photo on the card, yeah, that was definitely her.
ヒヤジョマホって読むの。
Hiyajo Maho!
私の名前、ヒヤジョマホ。漢字でもローマ字でも誰も読めた試しがないから、先に言っとくわ。
And now the game's just confirmed it, I was right, we're sticking with it. That's my name, Hiyajo Maho. I'll say it to you now, because nobody's ever known to read it right, not in Japanese or English. And I probably didn't do it any good either, to be fair, so... Hiyajo Maho.
ビクトル・コンドリア大学の中学生？
And you're from Victor Kandria University? I'm not reading the second part. His obsession with that age. I am no selling it. It's not happening, game. Cut it out. It won't happen.
寝ぼけるなら夜にして。大学に中学生がいるわけないでしょ。
Stop messing around. Universities don't have middle schools.
それもそうだな。じゃあ飛び級か？
That's true. Then you skipped a bunch of grades. Unlike in Japan, it wasn't uncommon for Americans to skip grades. Kurisu had made it to university at age 17. That's not really skipping too far ahead, at least not in the UK. UK, most people go to university aged 18. Yeah, leave school at 16, 2 years of college, and then when you're still 18, go to university. Maybe my British bias is coming to the fore here, people. You tell me. But still, a girl this young working in the university lab?
一つ確認していいかしら。
Well, Queen, you say that, but you remember what he was saying when he described her and I put my headphones down and walked off. I don't trust this twat. Yes, I'm still sore over a certain chapter in the original game stream. Very sore indeed. Can I ask you something? Sure.
あなた今少なからず衝撃を受けてるわよね。
You're feeling pretty shocked right now, right?
こんな小さい子が信じられないかしら。
Let me guess. A small child like this. I can't believe it. Right?
それともこの年齢ですごいの方。
Or are you one of those, she must be amazing to be able to do that at her age types? She got me.
ここをよく見なさい。
I don't like where this is going. Look here, closely. Yep. The girl, Hiyajo Maho, pointed at part of her ID with her slender fingers. She was born in 1989, and it was 2010, so...
21歳
You're 21 years old.
つまり立派な成人女性よ。中学生じゃないのよ。もちろん小学生でも幼稚園児でも。
In other words, I'm an adult woman. I'm not in middle school, and of course, not in elementary school or daycare either. And yet you put that posture on? One of the most childish tsundere kind of expressions? Way to dispel the myth. And then she puffed out her chest. Nope. No sold. Moving on.
何かしらその顔は。
What's that look supposed to mean?
いや悪かった。謝る。
Oh, no. Sorry. I apologize. I couldn't believe it. She was older than me. I'm this close, people. I'm this close. I am this close. Moving on.
まあいいわ。世界中どこへ行っても同じ目に遭ってるから。
It doesn't matter. I guess I get the same thing all around the world, no matter where I go. And yet, Maho did indeed just have a birthday, so she's just turned 21. Either way, she's not what he thinks she is, and he needs to grow the fuck up. So he hasn't changed, has he? He really hasn't changed.
そうだろうな。
Yeah, I'm sure.
何か言った？
Did you say something?
いや別に。
No, I didn't. Still, the Brain Science Institute. That's where Karisu worked. Which means this kid, no, this person, might know a lot about Karisu. I held back the impulse to start badgering her with questions. I looked at the pamphlet with the seminar schedules. Victor Conjurer's lecture was the last one for the day, and was clearly intended to be the biggest. Was this Hiyajo Maho girl going to give a lecture? Just like Karisu had done at the summer convention. No, wait, that's wrong. Danganronpa flashback, no, that's wrong. That never happened. Makise Karisu never gave any lectures over the summer. That happened in the Alpha World Line. In the world line I inhabit now, before the summer convention, she'd already...
君が今日は登壇を？
Are you giving the ledger today? Yeah, that's right indeed, Snobby. The Nani does mean what? It's like, Nani? It's kind of like the puzzle one. You also hear, you also hear Nani Kore, which is like, what's that? Or what's this? You may also sometimes hear if someone's being particularly loud and vociferous, Nanta Korea, which means, what the fuck? Swissbo's Japanese lesson. Write that down, there'll be an exam next week. And if you don't pass, Your charm won't increase. Yeah, you're in trouble now.
いいえ、私は助手として来たの。あと通訳も兼ねてね。
No, I'm here as an assistant. Oh, and translator, too. I looked at the pamphlet again, and saw that the lecturer was a man named Leskinen Alexis. Leskinen Alexis. A professor at Victor Kandra University, and the chief researcher at the Brain Science Institute. And the fact that he's got a Russian name suggests he might well be connected to Kurisu's father, Nakabachi. I'm suspicious of you now. I'm very suspicious.
テーマは人工知能革命か。面白そうだ。
Ah, Queen Nandato. It can be used for that. It's more common to use Nanja Korear or Nanja Korear is much more common, but you do hear Nandato as well occasionally as well. Yeah, you're right. The topic is the artificial intelligence revolution, huh? Yeah, sounds interesting.
時間があったらぜひ聞いてみてほしいわね。
If you got the time, I'd love for you to come listen.
そうするよ。
I will. And yes, I can read Alexis's name the correct way round. It's just that I got too used to preparing the Japanese pronunciation. Oh, the staff room, right? I'll lead Maho over to the elevator hall and showed her where the staff room was.
ありがとう。
Thanks! I had no reason to hang around her any further. I said goodbye and was just about to turn around. Just then, the elevator opened. A woman emerged. The instant I saw her face, every hair on my body stood on end. So he's either seen the apparition of Suzuha or the apparition of Kurisu. I can't think of anyone else that would make his hair stand on end. Oh no, it's... Look if it isn't, it's Moeka. The rounder. Shining finger. And why have they drawn her with her jacket that way? I don't like that. That's needless. Even though she's got a top on underneath, it's not very well at disguising it, is it? Moeka, Kiryu. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. Calm down. This is the Beta World Line. Mayuri is alive. Moeka's not going to kill her. Yes, I never liked you in the original game, Moeka, and your constant silence here is not endearing you to me. At all. And I'm glad I'm not I'm glad we're on the same wavelength there, Queen. I'm glad I'm not alone with this one. I just looked at it, I'm like, ugh, why? It made me think in a similar way to Maya from Persona 2, but at least Maya had an actual jacket on that you couldn't see anything of. Our eyes met. The eyes on the other side of her glasses were as dead as ever, and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. I frantically averted my gaze, before she realized something was wrong. She tilted her head for a second, but quickly lost interest in me and turned towards Maho.
ああ、雑誌社の方でしたよね。
Oh, you're with the magazine, right?
お約束通り、主催を。
I'm here about that interview. Yeah, the black jumpsuit certainly fit for that particular arc, Queen, definitely. And I'm being very vague here, because obviously I don't know if everyone's actually seen the original Steins Gate or not. I want to go check out my previous stream. Or maybe you want to go check out a linear bounded phenogram on Queen 3210's channel as well. We don't want to do any spoilers around here in case you're interested in both. Even in this world line, Moeka still only spoke in faint whispers.
レスキネン教授はまだなんです。少しお待たせしてしまいますけど。
That's Leskinen isn't here yet. It may be a minute.
はい。
Okay.
それまで私でよければシステムの概要でも。
If you want, I can go over the system until he gets here.
お願いします。
Thank you. The two of them disappeared into the staff room. As I watched them leave, I took a deep breath. I tried to calm down, but it wasn't working.
桐生萌か。もしかしてまたお前なのか。
Kiryu Moeka. Is it going to be you again? I take every opportunity I can find, Queen. Every opportunity. It was a terrible feeling, like a cold finger tracing the wounds in my heart. A cold finger tracing the wounds. It's not quite enough for me, that. There's something missing there, and I don't know what it is. That night, when the terrorists shut down all the trains in Akihabara, that awful night, when I just knew something was going to happen.
ここでもまたお前が。
Are you going to do it again? Here? And there you are, Queen. I agree. That is a much better look, isn't it? That looks so much better. Yes, it still amplifies certain parts of the body, but at least it's not as tasteless. Plus, it's a hell of a lot more badass. You can tell I've got into the rating. When I get that cold. Oh. That was minging. Oh, that was disgusting. Not the worst I've ever had. That's something else entirely. Or was I just imagining things? Was she just a magazine reporter now, instead of a CERN rounder? Ah, yeah, of course, I forgot you'd done the elite version of Steins Gate, Queen. Yeah, as I say, I mean, that's the one that pretty much became the anime, I believe, wasn't it? And that's the one you played, Snowbeaver. So it's interesting you've seen the different versions of the game. That's really cool. No. Even if Moeka was a rounder, we had nothing to do with CERN anymore. CERN wouldn't be watching us. I took another deep breath, grabbed some of the anxiety meds in my pocket, and swallowed them down with some mineral water I bought ahead of time. Oh, so he's on meds. Oh. Oh, trigger warning here, people. Trigger warning. I had anxiety a long time ago. I really hope the creators don't try and simulate that. I really don't. I'll put a trigger warning here right now, people. And yes, Queen, it was cold coffee. You're an avian's favourite from the 24-hour stream. It would take 15 minutes for them to kick in. Those 15 minutes were always pretty rough. I laughed at myself a little and sat down on one of the receptionist's desk chairs. Oh. Okay. It's just done a random quick save and beeps in my ears. That was somewhat confusing. I'll come in. Are things okay with the seminar? Ah, okay, so this is how it does it now. That's interesting. So, do I say no problem? I'm not sure, or there was a little accident. There wasn't an accident, apart from an interaction with someone I don't want to interact with. I'm not sure, I'll get worried. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a basic one. Oh, apparently that's also an achievement unlocked. Go team, I guess. I see, that's great. I can't wait to see what kind of seminar it will be. Mayushi wishes she could have seen it too. It may be a little too hard for you to follow. Oh god, they've even got the little anime memes of themselves. Oh my god. You're right. Okay, I don't want to get in your way. Bye. Yes, I do notice quite a few differences. I like it. It's got a nice UI actually. It's quite a nice UI. It doesn't look as clunky as the original. Evidently, they're definitely taking a bit more mod to it. Let's say, so it's really cool. And let's say the smartphone style is obviously fitting in. 1 year later, 2000. It's not entirely accurate though, because when I was in Japan, smartphones hadn't quite caught on then. When I first went to Japan in 2009, 2010, they weren't quite there. I think it was about 2012, 2013 when they really exploded in popularity. The table was filled with leaflets, pamphlets, and other things for the attendees. My eyes wandered to one of the pamphlets. Oh, yes. Look who's been referenced now. Nakabachi Theory and the Genealogy of Pseudoscience. This pamphlet was for Professor Izaki's seminar. Nakabachi Theory. The paper he'd announced in Russia. That paper held the key to creating a real time machine. On that day, July 28th, Nakabachi had stolen the paper from Kurisu, his own daughter, and left with it. I knew that. Only Nakabachi and I knew that. So, yeah, you're not wrong, Queen. Yeah, Okabe's ahead of the game for us. He's not the Luddite here. Are you shocked? Because I am. I flipped through the pamphlet. It was a brief introduction to the many forms of pseudoscience and fake scientific discoveries that had emerged since the start of the 20th century. On its own, it did make for interesting reading. And at the end of the pamphlet, Nakabachi Theory was introduced as nothing more than another entry in that long list of fakes. So Dr. Nakabachi's time machine theory had been completely ignored by the academic world. All the glory, fame, and power he'd wanted so badly that he was willing to get rid of his own daughter, he didn't get any of it. And I'd heard rumours that after the announcement, he'd been imprisoned in a Russian lab. To make it even funnier, he thought he was getting VIP treatment. He did get VIP treatment. Very important prisoner. It's VIP. Not the kind you'd want, but it's VIP. For a short time, there were essays and interviews in bogus academic journals. Even there, it was obvious that it had all gone to his head. The ironic thing was that Nakabachi theory was completely correct and completely revolutionary. The Russian government was worried about it leaking, and the SVR was doing everything it could to keep it under wraps. So, what is the SVR then? SVR is the Service of External Reconnaissance of the Russian Federation, aka SVR, Russia's external intelligence agency. Its headquarters is in Yasenevo in southern Moscow after the old Soviet Committee for State Security KGB was disbanded. The new SVR was modelled after the KGB's first directorate. There are other intelligence agencies in Russia as well, such as the Main Intelligence Directorate, GRU, and the Federal Security Service, FSB. Each of them has their own territory and specialisation. There's a couple more as well. So we've got Rounders. Yep, fictional, the unofficial group who work for CERN. We went over all that on the last one. Then we've got the European Laboratory for Nuclear Research, CERN, the bad guys from the previous game. Ah yes, for the win. Well, we all know that one. And lastly, this one. I'll flash it, but I'm not going to read it. You're welcome. But under the surface, there was full-scale information war beginning over the paper. The time traveler from 2036, John Titor, had told me so, which meant it had to be true. John Titor even. Ironically, I got that in my head because I'd heard the dub and bizarrely they used John Titor, which is technically the right way because they're in the pronunciation, but it's Titor from the original game. They always go, John Titor! For those of you who watch that stream. We all know who John Titor is, so we'll leave that where it is. Was World War III really going to happen? Yes, no, baby. I did notice that the same amount of subscribers I've got is the same as in the days of the year. One subscriber for every day of the year, and you're all unbelievably important to me. So thank you very much, all you people who have subscribed. I love it when people start raving on about the subscription count, and it's like it's great to have a count, but for me, it's more important to have a connection with the audience. So all you people here, you're officially the coolest. There was no point in thinking about it. Just a little more before the drugs kicked in. I closed my eyes. It's not easy to close your eyes when you got anxiety. I know, well, at least it wasn't for me when I had it. Several hours later, the convention was going well. After Professor Izaki's seminar, most of the students from my university went home, but I killed some time and came back. I wanted to hear the Victochondria lecture. I headed to the hall with plenty of time to spare, and saw Hiyajo Maho coming from the staff room. She was with a very tall foreigner. Was that Alexis Leskinen? It didn't seem like an American name, but maybe he was an immigrant like Kurisu, or at least descended from one. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the looks on their faces were so serious that I couldn't help but listen. No worries, Queen. You gotta get yourself back to work and keep going. That's absolutely fine. I should still be online later when you come back, so I'll see you then. Since they were both speaking in English, I could barely make out any of it, but I could tell from their voices that it wasn't a pleasant chat. Huh? Wait. Did I just hear the word makase? I hated the fact that I couldn't speak English. If I'd known this was going to happen, I would have gone to an English school. Well, it might help you, I don't know. English has been recently taught very heavily in Japan. They aim to have a load of English speakers from when the Olympics happened in 2020. And then 2020 happened. The two of them walked into the waiting room for lecturers. It was located right next to the UPX theatre. I put together the few fragments I was able to understand. Fire at Kurisu's house. Mrs. Makise is alright. Robbery. The police called off the investigation. Why was the FBI there? It doesn't make sense. Right, well, if there's a fire at Makise's house and she's okay, that suggests that she's still alive, which doesn't fit the narrative. Yep, so there's the thing about the American agency, the FBI, for you, and John Titor, of course, yes. Came back from 2036, published participants to the manual for the time machines, exploration operated, made clear what would happen in the future, and then found a message saying if he completed his mission would be returned into this world. Then vanished for good. Much like that character in The Simpsons, the dog, who immediately went back to his home planet after being created for one episode. I think that's what they were saying. Kurisu's house? Did he mean where she lived in America? Her mother should still live in America. Is that where the fire was? And then words like robbery and the investigation was called off. I really wanted to know more. I stood there and worried until it was time for the lecture to begin. Oh, nice one, Snow. So you passed your test. You passed your test earlier on in this year, and tomorrow's the first time driving on snow. I don't drive, so I can't give you all the best hit tips in the world, but I do understand that apparently you should use high gears and avoid getting on the brakes too sharply. I used to work in motor insurance, so I kind of know these things, but they're not always right. With nothing else to do, I went inside the theatre. I could tell earlier by looking at the size of the crowds going inside, but it was a very high energy crowd. The atmosphere was clearly different than Izaki's seminar, which was mostly students there for credit. The place was nearly full, with a crowd of scientists and people who wanted to learn about cutting-edge technology. Victochondria's researchers have published a slate of papers in Science recently, and have gotten a lot of media attention. Maybe that was why. Were there any empty seats? I found a single open seat at the edge. I found a single empty seat at the edge. But when I looked at who was sitting next to it, I moaned. It's going to be, yep, Kiriyu Mareka, I fucking knew it. You again. Kiriyu Moeka was there. She was speaking to no one, just typing endlessly into her phone. And again, it's the same style of phone that she had in the previous game, suggesting she's not evolved with the tag. I'd once named her Shining Finger because of her incredible typing speed, and she was as fast as ever. Who was she talking to? I didn't even want to imagine. I quickly turned away and looked for another seat. Dr. Leskinen reached the podium almost the exact instant I sat down. There was a huge wave of applause. But when they saw the tiny girl come up next to him, the applause faded into confused murmurs. And that art style they've given her is really creepy. You know, the swirling eyes and everything else. It reminds me too much of Tenoji's daughter, Nai. Very interesting. Maho must have expected this. Her expression didn't change in the slightest as she stood next to the professor. In fact, when she took the microphone from the professor and looked around the theater, she looked like she belonged there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I don't even need to do the voice for him because we've actually got English voice acting. And wow, 7 PS games during Black Friday. That's amazing, mate. Nicely done, Snow. Brilliant haul. First, Dr. Leskinen began to speak in English. When he made eye contact with Maho, she began to interpret.
Thank you for attending
皆
this
さん
seminar.
本日は私のセミナーに集まってくださって感謝します
I'm not bothering to translate that because you did hear Leskinen's voice there.
I am Alexis Leskinen
ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所のアレクシス・レスキネンです専門は脳信号処理システムおよび人工知能理論になりますそして私は助手のヒヤジョ真帆です同じく脳科学研究所で教授の指導に沿って研究をしていますよろしく
And I am his assistant, Hiyajo Maho. I'm also a researcher at the Institute, working under the professor. I'm glad to meet you all. The audience started murmuring again. That was the same way I responded when I met her. Well, that'll happen, yeah.
Now, without further ado,
では
I'd
早
like
速
to
ですが
introduce some of
私たちの
our
最先端研究の一端をご紹介します
I know today's theme is
テーマは
revolution in
人
artificial
工知能
intelligence,
革命
but
と
I
しま
think
した
you
が
will find this
これ
research
からデモン
will
ストレー
exceed
ション
your
するシステム
wildest
は
expectations.
おそらく皆さんの想像を超えたものではないかと思っています
Dr. Leskinen stood in front of the laptop that had been placed on the podium and started to type.
This terminal here is connected
こ
to
の
one
パソコン
of
で
the
すが
supercomputers
研
in
究所のスーパーコンピューターの一つと接続されています
So a computer's hooked up to a supercomputer in the lab, eh? I wonder if he's connected to CERN then and he's got a way of using the IBM 5100. I'm spoiling Steins Gate as I go here, by the way, people, so if you've not watched Steins Gate, you're going to be massively confused.
ああまだプロジェクターには映さないで
Oh, don't turn on the projector just yet. One of the staffers was just about to display the laptop's screen on the projector. Some kind of important program must have been booting up, because Hiyajo Mako stopped them.
Sorry, this is all
す
still
み
in
ません
development.
まだ開発
We
途中
haven't
なんで
had
す
time to develop much of UI
非
yet.
常に美的センスのないプログラムが画面いっぱいに溢れ返っています
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a
こんな
little
チープな
embarrassed
プログラムを
by
見られるのは
all this
恥ずかしい
I almost feel like
裸を
I
見られるよう
naked
にも
you.
ね
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not reading that line out.
Any engineers out there?
この中にエンジニアの方がいるなら理解していただけますよね
Some of the audience got the professor's joke and laughed.
Anyway, while this finishes
起
splitting
動
up,
するまでの間
I'll give you a quick
この
overview
シス
of
テ
our
ム
system.
全体の概略を説明しましょう
There was another projector in the center of the stage. A diagram appeared on its screen, and at the top of the diagram was a Japanese translation for the general audience. An analysis of the neuropulse signals relating to memory stored in the temporal lobe. Okay, let's look at the tips for these then. So apparently electrical nerve pulse and electrical signal travels through humans' nerve cells, used quickly to spread information between cells. The temporal cortex being a part of the cerebellum, located at the side of the brain, controlling memory, judgment, emotional restraint, hearing and more. Also used for accessing the hippocampus on the edge of the cerebrum. And finally, often shortened to AI, there have been many different definitions for its words since creation. For example, use it to refer to systems with self-directed learning capability, while others use it to refer to programs whose thoughts routines mirror a human's. And interesting list that you've got then is so you've got Lost Judgment, which is a sequel to Yakuza. No, a spin-off even. Like Yuga's Like a Dragon, Last of Us Part 2, Back for Blood, Guardians of the Galaxy, Sackboy, and Immortal Phoenix Rising. Sounds like a decent haul there, mate. You're going to be gaming for quite some time, and that is good. Very, very good. I knew that title well. In fact, I was sure I could never forget it. It was the title of an essay written by a 17-year-old genius and published in Science. She had completely analysed the nerve impulse patterns that govern human memory and used that to digitize the memories themselves in the data. And she had used that to invent the time leap machine right in front of my eyes. Though none of that had actually happened anymore.
サイエンス誌に掲載されたので、ご存知の方もいるでしょう。これは私たちのチームにいた天才的な日本人研究者によって提唱され完成されたものです。
Here we go. He's gonna drop her name now.
人間の記憶は大脳皮質、とりわけ側頭葉に記録されます。いわゆるフラッシュメモリみたいなもの。
Yep, so I'm going to keep this playing out as it is.
そのメモリに記憶を書き込んだり読み出したりするのが側頭葉にある海馬傍回という部位になります。
That's a Leskinan pointed to the diagrams of the brain and hippocampus on the screen.
脳はニューロンと呼ばれる細胞の間を電気信号が伝わっていくことで働いています。記憶というのも実はこういった電気信号の伝わりの一つなのです。その働きを制御しているのが海馬傍回と言ってもいいでしょう。
So it seems that this paper proposed by Makise Kurisu is still incredibly important to the game's story arc, regardless of her surviving or not. So that's what you suggest is one of those key points in time where it's going to have a divergence point. It seems to be this paper is going to be a big one for the overall story.
つまり電気信号が海馬傍回を出入りすることで記憶は作られていくんですね。そこでマキセ・クリスは
Yep, there's her name. She's been dropped. Makise Kurisu has come amongst us.
この論文を書いた日本人研究者です。マキセ研究員は考えました。海馬傍回を通る電気信号が電気信号のパターンと大脳皮質の
Maho started to have trouble with her interpreting. She was getting confused. No matter how good you were with languages, interpreting for a long period of time had to be difficult. I'd once read an article on the internet that said even a professional can't do it for more than 20 minutes. International conferences and live broadcasts from overseas were actually handled by a team of people switching off. Or maybe... was she having trouble because Kurisu's name came up? Dr. Leskinan saw she was having trouble and cut himself off.
すみません。
I'm sorry,
マキセ研究員は海馬傍回を出入りする電気信号のパターンに着目しました。そのパターンが大脳皮質のどの記憶と対応しているのか解析を行って完全なデータを得たのです。これによって記憶という曖昧でアナログなものを電気信号のパターンの組み合わせというデジタルのものに変換する基礎理論が確立されたのです。
So basically you can download your memories. That's not very GDPR compliant. I don't like the sound of that.
これがサイエンス誌に掲載された彼女の論文です。
Yeah, so it seems that Maho is really not liking this. She knows lots more than she's letting on.
そして現在、私たちのチームはその理論をもとに人間の記憶をデジタルデータとして取得するシステムを開発しています。
Yep, see, I told you. We're going full Johnny Mnemonic here, people, being able to download your memories. A wave of whispers sweats across the theater.
In other words,
それはすなわち
this system allows human memories
人間
to
の
be
記
stored
憶を
and
コンピュ
accessed
ーター
on
に保
computers.
存しそれを活用するシステムということになります。
The whispers turn into a low roar. I see. So even after her death, Makise's research was being carried on. Of course, maybe it was natural that it would be. That was the basic theory for time living, which I had proved myself, even if I could never prove it to anyone else in the Alpha World line. My memories had been turned into data and stored on a computer. There was no doubt about that. Ah, interesting. Iris Calder jumping in the chat saying, tell the time issue to Amy Tokutake of Square Enix, absolute translating machine. Wow, an hour-long interview with Espen Gold, Rich Campbell and Final Fantasy XIV director Yoshida Naoki. That's amazing. I know very little Japanese, so if I tried to translate, I'd probably last maybe 5 seconds. I have mad respect for anyone who's an interpreter and translator. They are absolutely incredible. It's amazing. And what Datsaleskinen was saying right about now was the basic technology required for that process.
At present, we are
現
attempting
在
to apply this
私
research
たち
to
が
two
行
major
っている
projects.
プロジェクト
The
は
first is
主に
medical
2
treatment.
つです。1つは医療分野への応用です。
Yes, there's 2 major projects I got working on. One's for medical applications, and the other is for war. That's how it is with big companies. The slide on the projector changed.
For this application, we've
こ
been
ちらは
cooperating with the
精神生理学研究所と
Institute.
共同で行っているプロジェクトです。
Psychophysiology lab. That sounds very notoriously dystopian, doesn't it? Take him to the psychophysiology department. Yeah, no thanks.
By passing data from a computer
コ
to
ン
the
ピューターに保
computer
存した記憶データを
we can rewrite memories to
海馬
the
妨害
original
を
brain.
通して再び元の脳に書き戻すというもので
Yeah, this is Johnny Mnemonic. Download memories and put them into somebody else. It's brain swapping.
Incredible!
Someone who looked like a grad student in the front row shouted. Datsaleskinen didn't seem particularly put off by the interruption, and Maho continued her interpretation. Well, interpreting, not
信
interpretation.
じがた
I'd be
い
thinking
で
the
す
same
か
thing if I were you.
その気持ちは理解できます。私も皆さんの立場であればそう言ったでしょう。
But let me just ask you,
しかし
can you imagine
この研究に
the
私たちは
applications
手
of
応
this
えを感
technology?
じています。これが実用化できればどんなに素晴らしいことでしょう。
I've got to say the voice that they've got for Leskinen sounds like a machine has done it. But can I ask you what this is? It almost reminds me in a way of Monokid from Danganronpa V3. Has that kind of really bizarre broken electronic sound.
We could treat memory loss in
例えば
secondary or
老化による記憶障害
that currently have
あと
matured.
はアルツハイマーなどそうしたものへの対処療法が期待できます。
Ooh. Oh, that's insidious. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Implant new memories in someone with that condition. Oh, God, no. Oh, jeez. Absolutely not.
Anyone's memories could be
患者の記憶をデータとして
as
自
easier
動的にバックアップしていくのです。
Yeah, that's insidious. That was really insidious.
Even if a memory is lost,
記憶が失われたとしても
it's possible to
その都度
access
PC に
a
アクセスし
and reinstall data in
脳
the
内に
brain.
データを再インストールすることが可能です。
I've not got any words for this. I really don't like that. I've really got no words for that particular idea.
We could halt the progress of
それ
senility
によ
and
って
dementia.
忘却の進行を食い止められるのではないか。
accomplish.
私たちはそう考えています。
Eventually, it would be
最
possible
終
to
的には
directly and continuously
海馬妨害
access
から
data stored on
PC
a
内の
computer
記憶
through
データに
the
常時
computer
アクセス
programs.
できるようになるでしょう。
Yeah, as I say, the idea of man and machine coming together is one thing, but that sounds like an absolute nightmare. You just have to go to your computer and go click to remember what you did last week. Ugh. Yeah, I can see that being abused.
So if the brain were to lose
そうすれば
significant functionality,
脳
say
機能が
two brain
失われた
damage
状
or
態
atrophy,
例えば 脳が激しく損傷したり萎縮してしまった場合などですが、そのような状態でも変わらず脳機能を維持できます。あたかも外部ストレージと同じように。
Just the very thought of this is like, you know, what would happen if your subscription expired? You suddenly lose all access to all your memories. And of course, the big one, what can people do to change them and give you memories that are false? Yeah, I am going back to the world of Danganronpa here, it would seem. The shirt was a coincidental choice, by the way. A strange feeling gripped the hall. Part of it was shock and the feeling that they were witnessing the announcement of an incredible technology. Part of it was skepticism that a system like this could ever actually work. Part of it was a revulsion at the idea of playing around with a human brain like that. Ooh, that's an interesting word for it. Transhumanism. Again, it sounds insidious, but I do understand what it is. It's literally, like I say, going human to human, transhumanism. An excitement born of all things passed from one member of the crowd to another. Dr. Leskinen raised his hand to encourage questions.
どうやら2つ目のプロジェクトをお話しする前に質問を受け付けないといけないようですね。
Yeah, it's an interesting point you raised there, Iris, saying that it's exceeding the limits of human capability using machines. And again, that's the idea of, like, you know, genetic implants and all that kind of science fiction that we talked about in the past. Cyborgs, androids, all the usual situation. It's an interesting idea, but if it ever came to pass, I dread to think what the consequences would be.
I'll answer as many as I can.
できる範囲でお答えします。どうぞ。
I like the fact that they've given Maho rough translation here, because he actually said, I'll answer as many as I can, but she's translated, I'll answer anything I can. Now, I don't know if that's because they've struggled to translate it into Japanese and back to English, or if they're showing that she's not completely fluent in English. It's a cool touch either way. Many hands were raised. I could tell that there was a wide age range of people interested, both young and old, raising their hands. Dr. Leskinen pointed to a questioner. This was the first question. Sampling would be required when digitizing analog memories. Does that mean any information would be lost? The professor nodded as he listened to the question in Japanese, and began to respond in English when the speaker finished. Maybe he was able to understand Japanese if not speak it.
その質問を言い換えると、オーケストラの生演奏を WAV のデータに保存する際、生演奏のすべてを完璧に記録することはできないと。確かにその懸念はあります。現在の研究で最も困難な問題の一つです。
So there's a difference between getting like an MP3, a WAV file, or a FLAC file, essentially is where they're going with that.
脳内のネットワークが神経伝達物質のオンオフだけで、つまり二進数的にデータのやり取りをしているのであれば簡単な問題でした。それはデジタルデータと同じことだからです。しかし実際には伝達物質や電気信号は脳内でアナログ的に変化することが分かっています。この問題に関しては今のところより高いサンプリングレートでデータをサンプルする方法しか手段を持っていません。
So try and oversample the source and then reverse engineer it from there, which again leads back to my point saying there's no way it can be accurate, so the memories could never really be truly the same. And also, how do you keep saving data that always overwrites itself, because the human memory is always very different. You only have to look up the Mandela effect, for example, to see where the human memory is so easily influenced and broken by a lot of external stimulus.
音楽の話で言えば 44.1kHz よりも 48kHz、48kHz よりも 96kHz でサンプリングするといった具合です。それによってデジタルでありながらアナログデータに近い情報を得ようとしています。
That frequency. Wouldn't that need a lot of energy as well, and therefore make it harmful to the subject on a physical level if they're trying to access these machines, causing overloading and things of that nature? You could give yourself a lobotomy by just trying to remember a recipe from 2 weeks ago. Little by little, the mood in the room was turning to disappointment. People were beginning to wonder if this was just a pretty theory that wouldn't work in reality. More questions came. All of the questioners were skeptical of the professor's theory, and many of them seemed to be outright challenging him. I started to get upset. This was Dr. Leskinen's research, but it was also Karisu's. I knew better than anyone that it worked, and the sight of so many people refusing to give it a chance infuriated me. Were these people really scientists? I tried to keep myself under control and looked back towards the podium. Was she mad? She certainly looked disappointed. Dr. Leskinen was very polite with the rude questioners, acknowledging the problems of the theory. She was very different. Her anger was starting to seep into her interpreting too. I felt a kind of kinship with her. The question and answer session continued.
そもそもこれは医学的に無謀でしょう。デジタルデータを脳に書き戻すなんて絶対に不可能だ。正気の沙汰ではない。
From a medical standpoint, this is just reckless. It's absolutely impossible to rewrite digital data back into the brain. It's insane.
サイエンス誌に掲載されたあの論文も読みましたが、にわかには信じられない。
I read the essay in Science, and I have to say, I don't believe it.
ましてや、筆頭著者が若干17歳の女性だったとあっては。
Especially since the lead author was a 17-year-old girl. That was the one thing I couldn't ignore.
あなたね。
Objection! Oh wow, to be fair, that's a very appropriate art style. That is puzzled down to a T. That's just a... Huh? What are you doing, you pullock? Who can blame her for going, what? Yeah, I could totally get on side with her for that look. The two people on stage and the entire audience all turned toward me at once.
やってみもしないで何がわかるって言うんだ。
How do you know it won't work when you haven't even tried?
最初は無理だと思われてた技術なんてこの世にいくらでもあるじゃないか。
The world's full of technologies that people never thought would work.
でもそれを克服した研究者がいたからこそ今があるんだろう。
But they exist now because people overcame those problems.
ただ批判するだけじゃ何も生まれない。
Criticism alone doesn't help anything. The whole theater went silent. But I didn't regret standing up.
あなた。
You! On the stage, Hiyajo Maho was staring at me in shock. And as for Dr. Leskinen, I saw a flash of white teeth as our eyes met.
Outcome is really something.
Hey. Yes, Iris. Objection! Your Honor, the witness testimony contradicts his evidence. Your witness testimony is out of date. He started to applaud. Huh? Why was he applauding? That just makes things embarrassing.
素晴らしい。彼はなかなか大したやつだ。ですって。
I'm leaving that one as it is because we heard what he said. Maho translated the professor's words for me to hear.
Nonetheless, a scientist
た
must
だし
always remain composed.
科学者たるもの常に冷静でなければいけない。
The only time when it is
大声
possible
で
to
怒鳴って
shout
いい
is
のは
when your
実験
experiment
が
is a
成功し
success
た
and you
時
say,
の
"We did it,"
We did it!
and that should be enough.
それだけで十分だそうですよ。
すみません。
I'm sorry. I lowered my head and sat down. I thought I was calm, but I guess my emotions get away from me. I hadn't grown up at all in the past 6 months. If Makise was here, she'd make fun of me again. I could feel the rest of the audience staring at me coldly. It hurt. If I could have left, I would have wanted to. But I was too interested in hearing the rest of Dr. Leskinen's talk to move.
And anyway, moving on.
それでは皆さん、そろそろ次に。
Oh, first, a round of
で
applause,
も、
please, for
そ
our
の
great
前
friend.
に勇敢な彼に拍手をお願いします。
Oh, no. Please, no.
Men like him are what
彼
drives
のような
scientific
挑
progress
戦者こそが
and up the
科学を
core
進歩させ、
remarkable cell race.
あっと驚くような理論を作り上げるのです。
He may even become the third
彼なら
Einstein.
きっと第3のアインシュタインになれるかもしれませんね。
Yeah, I don't need to access the log to tell you who Einstein is. If I do, hit the books.
The second Einstein, of course,
ちなみに
demised rightly
第2のアイ
assisted
ンシュタインはここにいるちょっと小うるさい私の助手。変なこと言うのはやめてください、教授。
And she's like, shut your mouth, you pillock. The audience chuckled. Sheesh.
さて、ここで私はしばらく通訳をお休みさせていただきます。これから私よりも優秀な通訳が登場します。
The next interpreter is far better than I am.
これが私たちのチームが今最も力を入れている2つ目のプロジェクト。
This is our second project, and the one we're putting most of our efforts toward.
アマデウスシステムです。
The Amadeus system. Oh, right. Okay, so it seems the Persona 5 Strikers are saying hi, people. We have the AI version of Maho. When she finished speaking, Maho walked to the back of the stage. At Dr. Leskinen's signal, the PC screen was displayed on the projector. And then I heard a voice.
皆さん、初めてお目にかかります。
Huh? The murmuring got louder than from before, but it felt more uncertain than surprised. On the screen, I could see a detailed 3D model of Maho, the girl who'd just been interpreting.
ちなみにこれは映画などで有名なドリンクワークススタジオに作成してもらったモデルです。
By the way, this model was made by the famous Drinksworks Studios. You've probably seen their movies. Drinksworks Studios. Who are they referencing with that one, I wonder? An American CG production company, huh? And what projects did this American CD movie production company make then? Can you tell us that one? Yep, Albert Einstein, we know about that one. The actor taking data at regular intervals or making terrible pop songs by repeating old things, such as "You can't touch this." Doom, doom, doom. There's a classic example of sampling for you. With the song Super Freak, you welcome the 1990s waves and says hi. Symptomatic therapy. Treatment not intended to cure the cause of a disease, but to alleviate symptoms and pain. Painkillers and fever reducers are example of symptomatic therapy. Yep, data storage unit, external hard drive, we'll leave that one alone. That's fine, I'll get off those. Good question there, Snow, asking if I'd compare Persona 5 Strikes to the Dynasty Warriors. Yes and no. The same company who made Dynasty Warriors actually made Persona 5 Strikers. It's why the mass battle system is the same, but the plot lines and the extra mechanics from Persona aren't really found in their games to my knowledge. But it's been years since I've played a Dynasty Warriors game, so I can't really comment. But I'd say there's definitely a spiritual bond between those two games for sure. Hiyajo Maro joined him from the back of the stage.
声については私のボイスサンプルをデータベースにして日本の山名が作ってくれました。
The voice was done by a Japanese company, Yamana, using my voice samples. Now that one's even more obvious. Game, you're not even trying. I know you're trying to get around copyright and everything else, but Yamana versus, oh, I don't know, a certain motorcycle engine manufacturer maybe? Come on. This was CG. It sure looked real to me. The professor said something into the laptop's microphone. And then the 3D model of Hiyajo Maho on the screen opened its mouth.
私はヒヤジョマホです。正確に言うなら、78時間22分前のヒヤジョマホから派生した存在ということになります。
I'm Hiyajo Maho. To be precise, I'm a being based on the Hiyajo Maho who existed 72 hours and 22 minutes ago. If you listen carefully, you might be able to hear something slightly off. But it sounded far more human than any artificial voice I'd ever heard.
先ほどから皆さんの質問を聞かせていただいていました。
I've been listening to your questions.
教授はどうして私を早く紹介しないのかとてももどかしく思っていましたよ。
And I was wondering why the professor didn't introduce me earlier.
以前から感じていましたが、どうも教授は人が悪いようですね。
I thought for a while that the professor has a bit of a mean streak in him.
まったくだわ。
You got that right. The Hiyajo Maho on the screen spoke with a slightly irritated expression, and the Hiyajo Maho by the wall nodded in agreement. Leskinen simply smiled. What was going on here? What part of this was their biggest project? The rest of the audience didn't seem to have any more of a clue than I did.
皆さんの多くは疑問に思っています。
Many of you are wondering,
人間の記憶をデータとして取り出したり、それを保存したり、さらにはそのデータを活用したり。
whether it's possible to extract a human's memories as data, save them, and use them. Yep, indeed it does, Iris, you're absolutely right. It's not just a motorsports company, but it also has a very well-renowned, robust sound engineering division. Absolutely true, completely correct. Them and another company as well from Japan. Often people in the West remember them for calculators rather than their keyboards, but nope. As I say, I was just bringing it back. And indeed, yes, it was Iris. It was indeed the sound chip used in the Sega Genesis. They also used two versions of chips for theirs in the Sega Saturn. But the Sega Saturn had very complex architecture, so you couldn't actually extract the potential from both chips. But Yamaha was a big part of both the Genesis and the Dreamcast.
そんなことが本当に可能なのかと。
You're wondering if that's really something we can do.
それでは私は一体何でしょうか。
So I put this question to you. If not, what am I?
私は78時間23分前のヒヤジョマホの脳内から取り出された記憶を持ち、そのデータをベースにして動いているのです。
I am based off data that was extracted from Hiyajo Maho's brain 78 hours and 23 minutes ago. What did she say? The professor said something else in rapid English and asked Maho on screen to translate it. But she, if she was the right word, hesitated and went silent. I looked at the real Maho, and she was responding exactly the same way.
教授、今のは。
Professor, is it alright if...
教授、今の発言はセクシャルハラスメントとして大学に訴えてもいいでしょうか。
Professor, is it alright if I report the sexual harassment to the university? Leskinen laughed cheerfully and responded to her. The conversation was in quick English, and over half the audience couldn't understand it. The real Maho sighed and took back the microphone.
教授はですね、私に対して、いえ、私の記憶で動作しているこのアマデウスに対して質問に答えてごらんと言いました。
Well, the professor, he told this Amadeus system, which is based off of my memories, to answer a question.
いつ頃までパパとお風呂に入っていたかとか。
It was, stuff like, how old was I when I... Yeah, I'm not continuing that statement. That is way too creepy.
初恋はいつだったかとか、何でも答えられるだろうと。
When did I first fall in love? He said any of those questions should be answerable.
ああ、もうそれ以上通訳しなくていいわ。
Oh, geez, you don't have to translate anymore.
恥ずかしい。 私はそういう質問には一切答えないわよ。
Would you stop that? It's embarrassing! I'm not answering any questions like that! And drinking this grin here, people. Just look at that. Look at that creepy face right there. Look at that. The professor said something else, and the Maho on the screen groaned and turned away.
クレジットカードの番号なんてもっと言えません。
And I'm definitely not telling you my credit card number!
あと、1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色なんて覚えてるわけないです。
And I don't even remember what kind of pajamas I was wearing a week ago. Yeah. Look at that grin. I'll make you answer my questions. Oh, yes, I will. What was this? It was so natural I couldn't tell at first, but this was something unbelievable, wasn't it? It felt very different than a typical AI. I could tell that much. It wasn't answering the questions it was given. And because they were embarrassing? Was it programmed to respond like that to certain questions for the purposes of this demonstration? It was possible that's all it was, but if that conversation wasn't programmed in advance, the rest of the crowd seemed to reach the same conclusion I did, and the whispers started to turn into a surprised murmur.
ねえ、ちょっと。いい加減このいたずらな子供を何とかしてくれないかしら。
Listen, can you do something about this little troublemaker?
何をしたいのか理解はできるけど、とにかく恥ずかしいわ。
I know what he's trying to do, but it's embarrassing. The copy of Maho was complaining to the original. It felt like I was watching a pair of twin sisters talking.
いたずらな子供ではなく、レスキネン教授が面白がってなかなか説明してくれないので、代わりに私がお話しします。
Well, since the little troublemaker, that is Dr. Leskinen, is having too much fun to explain what's going on here, I will. Maho walked back to the professor.
皆さん、もうお分かりかと思いますが、
I think everyone's already figured this out, but
アマデウスは自分が話していいこととそうでないこと、あるいは話したいことと話したくないことを自ら判断して喋っています。
Amadeus is deciding on its own what it can and can't talk about, and what it does and doesn't want to talk about.
私たちはアマデウスにそういったプログラムを一切施していません。
We haven't programmed any of this into her at all. I knew it.
彼女は与えられた私の記憶からそれを独自に判断し、自律的にそういう行動をとっているのです。
It's using the memories we gave it to make its own autonomous decisions. The Maho on screen suddenly took over for her.
そしてこれは先ほどの医療分野への応用とは方向性が真逆になってしまい、研究所内でずっと議論が交わされていることですが。
And there's another thing, which is the exact opposite of the medical applications we discussed. The research team spent a lot of time arguing about this, but
私は不必要な情報をいつの間にか忘れてしまう。
I eventually forget about unnecessary information.
というか、記憶の引き出しから出してこられなくなるのです。皆さんと同じようにです。
Or rather, I become unable to access those memories, just like all of you.
例えば、1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色。確かにそれを知っていたはずなのに、今は思い出せません。
For example, the color of the pajamas I wore a week ago. There's no reason I shouldn't know this, but right now I can't remember it.
そのような情報は生存していく上で必要がないからです。これも皆さんと同じです。
That's because this information isn't necessary to my survival. The same goes for all of you. Well, technically not true. If you're in a certain place and whether you're going to be executed or not depends on your exact recall of something that happened a few days earlier, to the point where you can remember your clothes, that would save your life. I'm just saying it's an extreme example, but it's not entirely correct.
このようにアマデウスは記憶のインプットやアウトプットが人間のそれと非常に近いのです。
So as you can see, Amadeus's memory inputs and outputs are very similar to humans.
これは私たちも驚くべき結果として研究を重ねている最中で、 まだ詳しくは解明されていません。
This result surprised us too. We're currently researching it, but we still don't know exactly how it works. As Maho finished up, Dr. Leskinen took the microphone back. She resumed interpreting as he continued the lecture.
However, what really surprised us
さらに
was that Amadeus
私たちを
intentionally
驚かせたのはアマデウスが意図して嘘をつくということ。
So I can lie.
and not as some sort of bug
何らか
or
の
glitch.
トラブルや
This is
ミスでは
purposeful
な
behavior.
くわざとそうするのです。
So you create a machine that can take memories and reconstitute them into code and regurgitate them and learn from them, but can also lie. So is it lying about not knowing the pajamas from a week ago? I sense a gun on the shelf there, people. That's gonna go off in a later chapter, I'm sure of it.
Lying is really just
嘘は
another method of human
人間
communication.
が他人とコミュニケーションを取る上での一つの手法です。
And lies are indeed a method that humans use to communicate with one another. That's very, very true. Lies are, unfortunately, very prevalent in the modern world. Because the truth can often hurt. A lot.
Amadeus examined the memories
アマデウスも
and has no
インプットされた記憶を自律的に検討し
if it
必要であれば
deems action necessary.
自分や他人のために平気で嘘をつきます。
Yeah, but I'm trying to avoid deliberate spoilers here for another game, but I'm getting real flashbacks to a certain character from a certain game. No spoilers in the chat, please, if you know what wavelength I'm on. Because not everyone who watches these streams in the archives has seen all the games I've played.
教授、誤解を招くような言い方はやめてください。
Don't tell them that, Professor.
嘘をつくのに平気なことなんてありません。私だって両親が咎めます。
I can't lie without hesitation. I have a conscience, you know.
I'm so sorry, and
That's Leskinen cut off. He seemed to be hesitating. Maho didn't seem especially surprised by this. Maybe she knew the reason. But the moment passed, and the professor continued. And Maho translated his words like there was nothing shocking about them at all.
this has led us to some
この
interesting
ような
conclusions.
検証を続けていくことで最終的に私たちは
For one, we believe it's possible for
アマデウス
Amadeus
に
to eventually
人
possess
間
a
と
mind
同様の魂を宿すことができるのではないかと考えています。
Yep, so again, one of my previous game streams says hi. I can't say I'm surprised, and to be fair, I don't think that game was out when this game came out, so technically it's the other way around. I was stunned. A soul? Should one of the leading brain scientists in the world really be using a word with such a vague definition?
In other words, true
これこそ
artificial intelligence.
本当の意味での人工知能ということになります。
Skynet says hi, people. The whole hall got very quiet. And it was sheer chaos for a while after that, as everyone tried to debate their own personal theories, with Dr. Leskinen at once. And fade out, it would seem. It was thanks to Izaki that I was able to get into the reception held after the ATF was over. And because of that, I'm going to do a quick save. They told me there was a dress code, so I went all the way back to my parents' house to get a suit to change into. At first, all that effort paid off, as Izaki introduced me to some of the country's top researchers. Riken, JAXA, IMIS, ECC. Oh. I've had a message on... It says Rhine. Right, that's really bad translation. That's actually an app called Line, and is very popular in Japan and Asian countries. It's like their version of WhatsApp, essentially. I can't believe you gotta go to a fancy dress party. Die in the fire, Mr. Fancy Pants. You could have helped too, you know. No way! Then don't complain. But I'm jealous, you gotta go to a party, there's lots of rich girls, right? Ooh, yeah! It's mostly guys, I think. Lots of older scientists. Blah. Okay, in. Hang in there, man. Is that all you ever think about? But before long, Izaki ran off to suck up to some university professor, and I was left completely abandoned. My own personal target, Dr. Leskinen, was surrounded by a bunch of famous scientists. It didn't feel like a mere student would be very welcome. So all I did was stand around and eat from the buffet by the wall. To be honest, I couldn't tell if the food was any good or not. Whenever my glass got empty, a smiling waiter was always around to fill it up again. And so I found myself drinking more than I intended. Oh no. I do not want to do drunken Okabe. I do not want to do this. A drunk Okabe is a bad Okabe. And he's bad already as it is. My stomach was already so full it hurt. The whole place felt like it was another world. I'm really not cut out for this. At the exact same moment I spoke, I heard a girl next to me say the exact same thing. Surprised, I looked over at her. Our eyes met, and let me guess, it's going to be the assistant, Maho. I was right. Oh, you! Not reading that out. And then a moment later, I realized it was Hiyajo Maho. She was wearing the exact same outfit she'd been wearing during the lecture. A lab coat in a place like this? That's just what the old me would have done. Let me see. You're... Maho was clearly out of place. Why? Because she was still wearing her lab coat? Why are you wearing a lab coat? I couldn't help but ask. I was sure I bought some real clothes. She was sure she had, but she hadn't. And that's why she was standing in the corner, trying not to attract attention. I don't know, if you're in a fancy ball like this where you've got waiters filling up glasses, people in tuxedos, and you're there in the corner in a lab coat, it'd be like time walking back to the 1600s and walking around like I am right now. You're going to attract attention. You're the guy who was at the desk this afternoon.
Okabe Rintaro です。東京電機大学の学生で、伊崎ゼミで勉強してます。
I'm Okabe Rintaro, a student at Tokyo Denki University in Professor Izaki's class. I handed her one of the business cards that I'd thrown together after Izaki told me I needed them. She grabbed one out of her own out of a stack and carelessly put it in my hands. It's fine. No need to be so polite. That was a huge help. My name's pretty rare, isn't it?
誰も読めないとか言ってたっけ?
Huh? Oh, yeah. You said nobody could read it. I looked at the card and saw that the pronunciation of her name was written in unusually large letters. That was probably because of how people kept screwing it up. It's a common name in Okinawa, though.
沖縄出身なのか?
You're from Okinawa. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather were immigrants. I was born and raised in America, which suggests that her great-grandmother and great-grandfather were possibly soldiers in the American military, because Okinawa has one of the biggest US military bases in all of Asia. It's very, very big one. Often the South Islands in Okinawa are often compared to being more like in Hawaii than anywhere else, because it's got the same kind of climate, and there's a lot of foreign people down there because of the base.
ハーフにはあんまり見えないな。クォーター?
Half? No, you don't look half Japanese. Quarter Japanese?
外れ。祖父、祖母、父、母、すべて日本人よ。 DNA は生粋のジャパニーズ。
No, my grandpa, grandma, mom, and dad were all Japanese. My DNA is purely Japanese. Huh? Well, to be fair, she doesn't have a Western look. Her eyes aren't very Western. So, I don't know why he's surprised by this. And now we have the awkward silence, people. And then the conversation stopped. I'm a terrible conversationalist, honestly. The old me would have gone full Chunibiu and started ranting about conspiracies and magic powers, whether the other person cared or not, but you can't really call that a conversation. I had no idea what to say to somebody I'd never met before. It's an interesting point you raised there, Iris, saying that generational gaps suggest like World War II Pacific theatre. Because that would have put, if they were, as I say, in that kind of area, but like, they just said they are Japanese all the way through. So that was a hint. So it was they're definitely not Americans. They just said it in the game. Now, it's interesting though, because they could have been brought over from that point and been possibly part of it. Again, I'm not being from Britain. We didn't really study that area of history. We were always focused on the First World War, the Second World War. And then bizarrely, we started, instead of like doing like the periods between and towards the 70s, we actually then went backwards and did all the stuff at the end of the end of the 1800s in like in the likes of Africa and the Crimea. So my understanding of that kind of history is rather wafer thin. So that's why I'm being careful in what I say, or not. I'll leave it up to you. I'd been working on becoming a real adult, even buying and studying men's magazines. But none of it really helped. Yep, so he's aware that he's been cringe and cheesy and edgy and he's trying to grow up, but he's not able to do it. Because it's not how he's wired. Without anything to talk about, I looked over to Dr. Leskin. He seemed to be giving a lecture on neurons to a bunch of scientists. I'm sorry about today.
Huh? 何が?
Eh? Sorry for what?
いや、セミナーの途中で邪魔を。
Oh, for interrupting your lecture.
ああ、あれね。気にすることないわ。
Oh, that. Don't worry about it.
あなたが声を上げなかったら、多分私が同じことをしていたから。許せないの、ああいう人。
If you hadn't spoken up, I probably would have. I can't stand people like that.
いいのか、そんなこと言って。教授が言ってたじゃないか。科学者たるもの、常に冷静にって。
You sure that would have been a good idea? You heard what the professor said. A scientist should remain calm at all times.
今のは科学者としての発言じゃないわ。だから構わないのよ。
I'm not speaking as a scientist right now, so it's fine. It must have really ticked her off, because she grabbed the cocktail from a passing waiter and gulped it down. Speaking of gulping it down, I'm going to do it with some water actually. All this talking is bad for the throat. Her cheeks turned a pretty shade of pink for an instant, but no longer. She might have had a high alcohol tolerance.
だけど、やっぱり良くないわね。反省する。
But you're right, really. Sorry.
ああいう批判は、言い方こそ悪いけれど、それでも事実には違いないんだもの。
Criticisms like that, they aren't very nice, but they're true. Alright, so it's different from where you are then, Iris, with all the being drilled down to the names of the major islands. Well, you say Saipan, Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Yeah, again, I suppose if we started to in the British side, we would be talking about all the fields in the wars as well. The likes of Passchendaele, for instance, and all those kind of things. So it's just the different knowledge pools that schools choose in their curriculums. I'm saying this now, but I've not been in school for more than 30 years, so the curriculum has probably moved. Not 30 years, sorry, 20 years. I'm old before my time, people. Who knew? The curriculum has probably moved on by now.
私たちの研究がまだ無謀の域から出ていないと言われれば 確かにその通りよ。
A lot of our research still has a long way to go.
そうなのか。
Really?
取り組まなくてはいけない課題が山積みだわ。さっきセミナーで話した以上にね。
There are a lot of problems we still have to deal with. More than we discussed at the lecture.
例えば記憶データを元の脳に書き戻すことができても、それを脳が利用できなければ何の意味もないの。
Here's an example. We can write memory data back into the brain, but if the brain can't use it, then it's useless.
記憶があっても思い出せない状態。つまり記憶喪失の脳と同じになってしまう。
The memories are there, but you can't get to them. It's basically the same as amnesia. As Maho spoke, I remembered. I remembered all the lectures and theories that Kurisu had given me when she was making the time leap machine.
確か人間が記憶にアクセスしようとするときは前頭葉から側頭葉へ信号が行くんだったよな。
If I remember right, when people try to access their memories, the signal goes from the frontal lobe to the temporal lobe, right?
ええ、トップダウン記憶検索信号ね。
Yep, top-down memory search signals.
だったら
So then. Yeah, didn't know about the Battle of Trafalgar till college. Yeah, I think that's when they try to expand the world horizons a bit more, don't they, Iris, in terms of what you learn? But unless you do history at college level, you don't really get to see it. At least we didn't over here in the UK anyway. And then I started to talk. Remember what Kurisu had told me about her theories as I went. When I used specialized terminology whose meanings I barely remembered, Maho would tell me what they were.
で最後に側頭葉に記憶を書き戻す過程で
And so finally, in the process of writing these memories back to the temporal lobes,
一緒にコピーした疑似パルスを前頭葉の方に送り込めば記憶検索信号はちゃんと働くと思う。
if you send the pseudo pulse you copied along with them to the frontal lobes, the memory search signal will function properly. I think.
あなたそれを自分で導き出したの？
Did you figure that out for yourself?
ああ、いや。
What? No. Maho looked back at the business card I'd given her.
脳科学専攻じゃないわね。ということは誰かに？それとも論文で？
Your major isn't brain science. So someone told you this? Or did you read it in the paper?
それはないわ。まだ論文にはまとめられてなかったはず。
No, that's impossible. She wouldn't have put it into a paper yet.
何かおかしいこと言ったか俺。
Did I say something wrong?
そうじゃなくて、私の後輩がね、全く同じ理論を提唱していたことがあるのよ。
No, that's not it. One of the researchers at the lab said the exact same thing.
どのスタッフもずっと懐疑的だったけど、彼女だけは絶対に証明できるって言い張っていたわ。
None of the other staff believed her, but she said she was sure she could prove it.
結局、実証試験に進む前に彼女はいなくなっちゃったんだけど。
So, well, I would read the text, but unfortunately I've had a notification that one of my friends has started playing the exact same game, so... Okay, that's gone now, let's get back to the game. In the end, she left us before she got to the test stage.
それは
That's... Should I tell her? Should I tell her about me and Makase? In this word line, there's almost no connection between me and Makase.
どうしたの？
What is it? I made up my mind. If I wanted to follow my dreams, I needed to act.
実はこの理論クリスからレクチャーされた。
Actually, it was Makase who told me about this theory.
Eh?
What?
今なんて？
What did you just say?
マキセ・クリスが教えてくれたんだよ。
Makise Karisu told me about it.
クリスがあなたに？
Makise told you?
いつ？どうして？
When? Why?
彼女がこっちに留学してた時だ。友達になってこういう話をよくした。
When she was over here as an exchange student, we became friends and she talked to me about this stuff. Of course, that was a lie. Makise and I became friends in the Alpha World line, not this one. But a small lie like this was probably okay.
そうだったの。あのクリスが。
I see. So Makise...
ありがとう。感謝するわ。
Thank you. I mean it. Her words surprised me. That was the one thing I didn't expect to hear.
何が？
For what?
彼女と友達になってくれてよ。日本に来てたった一人で。
For being her friend. She came to Japan all alone.
たった一人で勉強していてもきっとつまらなかったと思うから。
I mean, I'm sure she would have been bored studying by herself.
口喧嘩ばっかりだったけどな。
All we ever did was fight, though.
あの子らしいわね。絶対に負けを認めなかったでしょ。
That sounds like her. She never gave in, did she?
ああ、へりくつばっかりこねていた。
Never. She'd argue for hours.
ロボトミー手術してあんたの前頭葉を書き出してやるぞとかよく言われたし。
She'd tell me all the time about how she was going to give me a lobotomy and rip out my frontal lobe. Do a quick save while I've got the chance here, and it's nice to see the interaction between these two, where obviously Maho's getting a bit more humanistic. But I don't know if it's just me, but the body posture that they've given her is very similar to Makise. That's not an accident. It's either laziness or it's not an accident and intended. So yes, a lobotomy. Do I really want to explain what that is? No, not really. Yep, nerve signals in the cerebrum sent down to the frontal lobe during memory retrieval, apparently. Yep, part of the brain. And then, of course, yep, literally 8th grader's disease. Refers to slightly unusual actions and speech patterns commonly used by Japanese boys undergoing puberty. Uses the prerogative term towards people who left puberty but still say highly embarrassing things when they were still kids. What? You're surprised? No. Oh, I skipped out there by mistake, so all the ones that are not opened have been kind of lost. No matter, let's get back to the game.
まさかそんなこと。
What? She wouldn't.
クリスなら言いそうね。
I could see Makise saying that.
だろ？
Right.
ちゃんと後輩の教育をしておいてほしかった。
You need to discipline your researchers better.
その点に関しては認めるわ。陳謝します。
I'll admit that much. Sorry. But they've also given her the posture that's very similar to Ferris Nyanyans. It's like almost like a weird hybrid between Makise and Ferris at the moment. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. I probably am. It would not surprise me. Huh? She smiled. Or so I thought. And then all of a sudden she started to cry.
どうした？
What's wrong? I didn't have any better ideas. So I grabbed my handkerchief. Huh? She didn't seem to know why she was crying herself. And neither did I. Had I said something during the conversation that set her off?
大丈夫か？
Are you okay?
平気よ。ごめんなさい。
I'm fine. Sorry. She didn't take my handkerchief. Instead, she took a tissue out of her pocket and wiped her eyes.
勇敢なる大佐のアインシュタイン。
My brave third Einstein.
え？
What? I turned around and saw Dr. Leskinen smiling quickly striding towards me. He grabbed my hand as he got closer. The handshake was incredibly forceful, and his hands were as big as a bear's paws. I've got pretty big hands, but I don't think I match a bear. I'll admit I've not touched a bear's paw, so maybe I'm reading too much into this too. No, not just his hands. Standing in front of me, he looked even bigger than he had during the lecture. I'm pretty tall, but he was at least a head taller than me.
教授、俺、
Professor Uh-oh. It was all so sudden I couldn't even think of an introduction. And wait, did he just speak in Japanese?
しかし私の助手を泣かせてしまったのは見過ごせないね。
Still, I don't approve of you making my assistant cry.
いや、これは。
Oh, no! This is...
違います教授、私が勝手に。彼は関係ないですから。
No, Professor, it wasn't his fault. He had nothing to do with it. Maho and I both denied as much as we could. But I didn't know why Maho was crying, so I couldn't come up with any excuses. I just started to panic even more.
つまり
So basically,
クリスです。
Makise.
彼とクリスの話をしていたら、いろいろ感情が溢れてしまって。
I was talking with him about Makise, and I just started crying.
クリス？
Chris,
君はクリスの友人？
you're a friend of Chris's?
それは。
はい。Yes.
岡部倫太郎さん、学生だそうです。
This is Okabe Rintaro. He's a student. Maho introduced me. Dr. Leskinen had a gentle expression on his face. He gave me a slow hug. I felt like I was going to suffocate in his massive arms. Somehow, I could tell that it was his way of remembering Makise.
そうですか。そういうことなら魔法。
I see. If that's the case, then Maho.
はい。
Yeah.
ミスター・オカーベに会わせてあげたらどうかな、彼女を。
Why not introduce her to Mr. Okabe?
まさかアマデウスを。
You can't mean
こ
Amadeus.
こで彼に出会った偶然、その幸運を大切にしたいじゃないか。
It was good luck what brought it to us here, wasn't it?
日本にいる間、彼にテスターになってもらってもいいよ。
While we're in Japan, you can have him be a tester.
本気ですか？部外者なのにそんないきなり。
Are you serious? You can't just let an outsider...
クリスの友人ならば部外者ではない。そうだろう？
If he's a friend of Makise's, he's no outsider, correct?
ですが。
But sir... What were they talking about? I had no idea, but it was my chance to build a relationship with Dr. Leskinen. I didn't want to blow it.
俺、ぜひお手伝いしたいです。
I'd love to help.
ナイス！
Nice! He patted me on the shoulders and smiled. It was an innocent smile, like a child's.
じゃあ、詳細は魔法に聞いて。よろしく。
Okay, then ask Maho for the details. Thanks. Another scientist was calling him, so he wandered away. Maho was shaking her head in disbelief.
アマデウスに合わせるとか、テスターとか、一体何の話なんだ？
What's he talking about? Meeting Amadeus? Being a tester?
コンベンションでやったデモンストレーション。アマデウスは私の記憶を使っていたんだけれど。
The demonstration of Amadeus we did during the convention used my memories, but... And yeah, Iris, I kind of caught that as well about the voice actor. It's quite clever that they've tried to emulate the way that like an American speaks Japanese. I mean, when I speak Japanese, I'm pretty poor. Like, well, that's no wa pita desu, for example. I've got a very odd accent, which apparently is somewhere between middle Japan and really bad weeb. More on the really bad weeb than the first part. But it's been interesting, because when I've been in Japan and I've actually used a little bit of Japanese I've known, it's really impressed people that I've tried. They're a very good nation of people for that. If you actually know any and you try your best, they'll be very patient with you. Whereas you get other people who just go, get me that one. And everyone just goes, ugh. And who can blame them?
Amadeus のデータとしてもう一人分研究者の記憶が保存してあるのよ。
Amadeus also has another researcher's memory saved as data. Huh? Yep, he has Marquis's. Well, yep. Another researcher's memories. What did that mean? Come on, dude, wake up. When I finally figured it out from Dr. Leskinen and Maho's conversation, my heart started pounding.
まさか
You can't mean...
あいつなのか
Huh?
そう。
Yeah.
アマデウスの中にはマキセ・クリスの記憶が保存されているわ。8ヶ月前のクリスだけれどね。
Maxi Carice's memories are stored in Amadeus. They're 8 months old, though. And oh dear! Okabe has walked right into a trap, lied about being her friend in Japan on this word line, and now there's memories from 8 months ago. And when was she a student in Japan? This is going to be very interesting, that's all I've got to say. Absolutely, Irish, yeah, that's right. They're very proud of the heritage and the culture in Japan, the Japanese people. It's, again, it's one of those things. What's really interesting as well is that if you actually go to Japan and you act all weebly, they will disown you very quickly. So if you're someone, for example, who talks about how great idol groups are, for instance, or that you go to all the concerts, they will be like, yeah, you go over here, you know, kind of thing. Because, one, it's a stereotype that it all had anyway, but two, it's also a massive cultural taboo. Admitting you're an idol fan in Japan, not a wise move. Unless you're a person who doesn't care. Which a lot of foreign people can sometimes be like, unfortunately. Now, is that the end of the first chapter? No, it's not. Okay. Several days passed after the ATF party. 10 minutes from Ikebukuro, via the express train. And then 10 minutes by bus from a station called Wako City in Saitama. Can't remember if there was a place called Wako City in Saitama. I've not been there for about 12 years though, so I can't really remember. The office I was looking for was on the second floor of a building right next to Riken. Global Brain Science Comprehensive Research Organization, Japanese Office Prep Room. GBSCRO. Right, so it's not an acronym. I had a feeling it might have been a backronym, but I don't think it is. That was what the plate on the door said. To get in, you needed 3 types of special keys, plus a security card. 3 types of special keys and a security card. And there's nothing insidious about this? Am I the only one reading this?
ここは
What is this place?
各国の脳科学研究者が連携をして新しい機構を作る予定なの。私たちの研究所が主導してね。
The plan is for brain scientists from all around the world to work together to make a new organization. Our lab is leading the way. She let me inside. Oh. Who is it? Who's messaged me on line? Not Rhine. Line. The mysterious cicados have at last appeared in Akihabara, Nyan. This is one of the hidden doors of Akihabara that leads to the truth, Nia. If you know none of it, then very well, Nia. It centers me we cannot journey together, but if my sacrifice shall put an end to this, then I go through the door with gladness, yeah? Blah. Yep, so Ferris Nyan Yan is as crazy as she always was. Yeah, it's not letting me phone anybody, but yep. Amane Yuki. Hang on, Suzuha Amane Yuki? Suzuha's mother? Is that who that is? I may have just inadvertently spoiled myself there. We'll see. Let's wait and see. The office must have been newly rented. Most of the desks were still empty, showing no signs of ever having been used. There wasn't even a whiteboard, which made the room look even more empty. There wasn't a lot of natural light. Maybe the windows were on the north side. No, mate, the windows are right here. The only illumination was from the overhead fluorescent lights. The room felt very cold. Again, I don't know if it's me, but I'm seeing a lot of light here. A lot of light right there.
ここはあくまでも準備室だから。
This is just a prep room. No one was sitting at any of the desks, but two of them had stuff on them. One was a mess, filled with notes, calculators, coffee cups, and supplemental bottles. That was the one Maho sat down at, which meant the one that was neatly organized must belong to Dr. Leskinen, right?
教授は
Where's the professor?
今日はオフ。
Off today. Well, it was Sunday.
君も
Are you off today too?
ええ。
I just read that in her voice. What?
昼過ぎまで寝ていられるわけないでしょ。
Why did I use her voice for Okabe? What the fuck am I doing? The director immediately told him cuss and getting me booted out the door for that one. That's terrible voice work. What the fuck was I thinking? Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to sleep past noon. That's true. When I got to pick her up from her hotel in Wako City, she'd come out of the room half asleep. This was the day that I was to meet Kurisu Amadeus. It's Makise Amadeus even, sorry. Maho had gone over the basics of being a tester on the way here. Essentially, Amadeus needed sample data for conversations, and they were going to give me an environment where I could talk to it any time, 24 hours a day. She didn't give me any details beyond that though. So I'll be able to talk to Makise Amadeus 24 hours a day, huh?
あいつはクリスのアマデウスはここにいるのか
Is she... Is Makise Amadeus here?
ええ。
Yeah! Maho nodded and gave me a glance.
あいつと呼んだわよね、今。
You just said she, didn't you?
ああ
Huh? Yeah.
私が思っているよりもずっと親しかったのね、あなたたち。
You two were a lot closer than I thought, weren't you? Maybe my silence was an answer in itself. Who's messaging me online again? Oh, it's Lukako. Okabe, may I have a moment of your time? No, it's not that important. Can it wait then? Alright, I'll contact you later. Sorry. No, please don't worry about it. Oh my god. What's with that Mayashi icon? Twice? Okay. Maho's response was uncharacteristically hesitant. And she just sat there as he's doing this, by the way, as well. He's literally just started doing this in front of her. They're very patient, aren't they? Is all I've got to say. If someone did that in front of me, I'd be like, I'm here, dude.
だとしたら会うのはやめた方がいいかもしれないわよ。
Then maybe you shouldn't meet her after all.
どうしてだ？
Why?
相手が親しい人であればあるほどあのシステムは残酷だと思うから。
The closer you are to someone, the crueler that system is.
大丈夫だ。
I'm okay.
わかった。もう言わない。その代わり一つ覚えておいて。
Fine, I won't bring it up again. But just remember one thing.
ロードする記憶はクリスが最後に更新をした3月のデータをベースにしたものよ。
The memories are from March, the last time Makise did an update.
だから3月以降、例えば彼女が日本に留学していた時のことを聞いても全く通じない。
So anything you say about what happened after March, for example, when she was in Japan, she won't remember. That's right, isn't it?
それに3月から今日までの間に私や教授が何度も起動してしまっているから。
And the professor and I have run her program a lot of times between March and today.
その度にクリスは、アマデウスの方のクリスね。彼女は元のクリスとは違う記憶を蓄積しているわ。
Each time, Makise, I mean the Amadeus Makise, has created memories the original never had.
私たちが聞かせた話、ネットで検索した情報、新しく会話を交わした人たち、そういったものをね。
Stories we told her, information she's found on the internet, new people she's talked to, things like that. I wonder if they've told her that she's dead. There's an interesting point. Tell a line of code that's learning as it goes that it's actually dead. That'd be an interesting and dark twist. I get the feeling that's not an option I'm going to have, so I don't think it's going to matter too much, but it's still really interesting to say the least. Oh, by the way, people, in case you're confused, when I did my save then, it said I've been playing for like 2 3/4 hours, which is obviously not true because we started 2 hours 15 minutes ago. It's because I would have had my machine idling in the background to get rid of frame rate drops, so the timer on my playtime is actually inaccurate. So in case any of you are confused by that, you now know why.
つまり、これから会うのはあなたの友人だったマキセ・クリスではないということ。
In other words, what you're about to meet isn't Makise Kurisu at all. Your friend.
このシステムの問題点の一つなんだけれど、往々にしてこちら側、つまり人間の方が混乱してしまうのよ。
It's one of the problems with the system. It causes a lot of confusion with the people on this side. I mean, as humans.
まるで本当のクリスと今この瞬間にチャットでもしているような錯覚に陥るから。
Because you'll think you're talking to the real Makise. So don't get reality and fantasy mixed up, I guess.
共有できていない記憶の齟齬に関してこちらの脳がついていけなくなってしまうのね。
Our brains have trouble keeping up with the fact that our memories aren't shared with them. Memories that aren't shared. Now there's a feeling I knew well. Reading Steiner. It was a power only I possessed, which made my memories different than those of the people around me.
案内してくれ。
Take me to her. Maho gave me a slight
こ
nod.
っちよ。
This way. She led me to the back of the room. There was a booth, separated by a thick partition. To get inside the booth, you needed a different card key than the one used to get into the room, as well as a security code.
ずいぶん厳重なんだな。
You're pretty strict about security.
今の時代、産業スパイが一番恐ろしいの。
Industrial spies are our biggest threat these days. She entered the security code and unlocked the door.
どうぞ。
Go inside. The room was about 2.5 meters per side. At one end was a white desk, and above it was a PC with a built-in 30-inch screen monitor.
少しだけ後ろに座っていて。
Sit just behind me. There was a small sofa that let you sit behind the user and see what was happening on screen. I sat there. Maho powered on the PC and began to type. Right. Password Salieri. Salieri. That name's going to be important. It's either going to be an anagram or a puzzle. A second later, the words Amadeus system appeared on screen. I saw her put the ID in. Salieri. Salieri. Here we go. It's a tip. Ah, it's an Italian composer. Antonio Salieri. Lived in the same time as Mozart, was court composer at Vienna for many years, and trained such famous composers as Beethoven, Schubert and Liszt. Classical music I know very little about, so that's kind of interesting to be honest. Ah yes, here's the ones I haven't read by the way yet. Instrument Music Maker was founded in the 19th century and began to develop artificial voice software, desktop music software, PCs and motorcycles. Institute of Physical Chemical Research, founded in 1917, Japan's only natural sciences institute, with research at Riken covering a variety of fields like physics, engineering, chemistry, computational science, biology and medicine. Located in Wako City, Saitama, there are also labs in Hiyajo, Kanagawa and other locations in Japan. Apparently there's also a research centre in England and America. I don't know of any research over here by the name of Riken, but then again I don't know all the research arms for all universities. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was like part of Oxford and Cambridge. Yep, JAXA, so Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. I didn't realise Japan had an aerospace program, that's pretty cool. Yep, Institute of Science Material Structure in Ibaraki. And then I've just clicked off there by mistake, didn't mean to do that. Future Gadget Laboratory, we know about that. That was where everything was set in the last game. And yep, a word I can't pronounce. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. I can't pronounce that yet. I can pronounce pneumono-ultramicroscopic silicoconiosis. I don't understand. Why can I pronounce pneumono-ultramicroscopic silicoconiosis, but I can't pronounce deoxyribon... so I mean, deoxyribonucleic acid. I don't understand. Why can't I pronounce DNA, but I can pronounce an obscure lung disease? What the fuck? What does that say about me? Salieri and Amadeus, huh? Well, Amadeus sounds Greek. It's Latin for beloved of God. Oh, right, okay. Fair enough. Was there some meaning to that? Come to think of it, in the famous movie Amadeus, there was a character who was spiteful and jealous of Mozart's incredible talents, but who, in the bottom of his heart, admired him more than anyone else. That character's name was Salieri.
パスワードは見ないで。
Don't look at the password. Well, you won't be able to see it. It's sat behind her anyway. How would you be able to see the password? Maho moved her body to hide her hands. I looked away. She finished logging into the system, and a simple bare command screen prompt appeared on
準
screen.
備はいい？
Are you ready?
ああ、頼む。
Yeah. Do it. Maho entered several commands at the prompt.
ごめんなさい。ここはちょっと見せられないの。
Sorry, I can't show you this.
まあ、俺が見たところでさっぱりだけどな。
Well, he's not sat behind her there, is he? He's sat right next to her. Well, I wouldn't be able to make any sense of it.
でも一応ね。
Still, you know how it is. She turned off the monitor. Then she spun around to face me. What, so she spun left? Because you were right beside her there, mate. You did not sit behind her. I suddenly realised I was clenching my fists. How long had I been doing that? My hands were sweaty, and there was a red spot at the base of my thumb where my nails had dug in. Was I more nervous than I realised?
どうしたの？
What is it?
いや、今になってちょっとおじけづいてきた。
Oh, just... I'm starting to get a little scared.
まだ間に合うわよ。今すぐここから出ていけばいいわ。
There's still time. You can just leave now.
意地が悪いな。
You're pretty mean.
そう？あなたのこと心配してあげてるのに。
Really? I'm worried about you.
だったらもう少しそれらしい言い方をした方がいい。クリスといい、君といい、実験大好きっ子は。
Then act like it. Seriously, you, Makise? You lab girls. For a second, the old, joking me was about to come back. I quickly changed the subject.
実験ばかりに明け暮れているやつは可愛げがない。
People who spend all their time doing experiments can be so rude.
今の発言は明らかに誹謗中傷ね。侮辱罪で訴えてあげてもいいわ。
That's a clear case of slander. I can sue you for defamation if I want. When there's no witnesses, you can't. He says live on the internet where people could see his face and hear his voice. I'm not very good at this, am I?
やめてくれ、恐ろしい。
Stop. You're scaring me.
いい弁護士を知っているから紹介してあげましょうか。
I know a good liar. Want me to introduce you? Which is her way of going, I'd like to speak to your manager. Pardon me. I feel dirty having done that. I do apologise, people. I feel really dirty.
その前に告訴を取り下げてくれ。
How about you stop suing me first?
示談に持ち込もうというのなら、それ相応の金額は覚悟することね。
If you want to talk about a settlement, you're going to need a lot of cash.
後で毒ペンをおごるから。
I'll buy you a Dr. P later.
安い。
You're so cheap. Yeah, Image, you're not wrong. Punished Okabe really is a downer. It's not the same character, which I'm kind of happy about because I didn't really like him in Steins Gate. In the original Steins Gate, I thought he really got on my tits in many ways. I heard a small sound from the back of her throat. I guess she was laughing. Normally, I'd find that irritating, but strangely, coming from the girl in front of me. No, she was a grown woman, actually. I didn't. Hiyajo Maho was very strong-willed, with the prickliness and short temper unique to scientists. She always seemed to be a little upset about something. Why have we got into past tense all of a sudden? Why are we in past tense? Why have we switched? But maybe she wasn't that bad. Oh, I see. She. Maho. She's a lot like Makise. When I first met Makise, she was like that. Arrogant, rude, never willing to change her mind, stubborn, hard-headed, and always ready to confront you with raised eyebrows whenever you said something she didn't like. I truly thought I'd never seen a more unlikable woman. Oh! All the Makise fans are getting ready to kill him. All the Makise fans who say she's best girl. All you people who are wrong because Suzuhara's best girl. And now I'm going to get 1,000,001 levels of heat at me. I'm prepared. Kind of. But despite my first impression, on the inside she turned out to be fragile, easily hurt, and so kind, and so lovable. In other words, a tsundere.
何がおかしいんです、先輩。
What's so funny, Maho? I suddenly heard a girl's voice from the speaker. I found myself jumping off the sofa. I knew this voice. I couldn't forget it. I could never. Maho turned on the monitor. Interesting, Iris. You're saying that's a weird way to spell Luca. That's really interesting. And say, out of curiosity, what is it you liked about Luca? Because as a character, they were kind of interesting, but they also, I don't know, there's something about them that just didn't click with me, and I don't quite know what it was. The girl I'd never forgotten appeared on the screen. Maybe it was based off her appearance at the Brain Science Lab, because she was wearing a white lab coat. The PC's camera turns towards me on its own.
先輩、そちらの方は
Who is this? Maho was introducing me, but I didn't hear anything she was saying. I simply stared, entranced. I wanted to reach out my hands. I wanted to touch her. She was right there.
Okabe Rintaro さん。はじめまして。牧瀬クリスです。
Nice to meet you, Okabe Rintaro. I'm Makise Karisu.
どうぞよろしく。
I look forward to working with you. And I think we've got an intro sequence here, people. So copyright hell, by the way. Yeah, this is much more like the anime. So these intro screens have always been brilliant. I've always loved the kind of like, almost that kind of like sci-fi James Bond style to them. Oh, a young Karisu, that's interesting. Yeah, Manayuki. Hey, hang on, he's got his lab coat there. Oh, that's kind of cool, so you got the two different sides to him. That's a cool look. Yeah, I like that intro, but I don't think that song's as good as Hack Into the Gate from the original game. I don't know what that song's called because I didn't pay attention to see the title, but there we are. So that is Chapter 1 completely done. So, now, because we've finished the first chapter, and because tomorrow I unfortunately have to be up at 5 AM because I'm in the office, this is where, for tonight, we're going to call it a day. And we are going to be back in 2 evenings' time on Wednesday at 8 PM GMT, where we're going to pick up in Chapter 2 of Steins Gate 0. We've just seen the missing link, and it seems we've gone with a weird AI fusion of the past in terms of whether we're going to be able to resurrect the memories, and are we going to cross more world lines? We will only find out as we go further. So until then, thank you all very, very much for watching. And good night.